Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. And to keep my content, keep it flowing, keep it about you guys, I tend to talk about stuff that keeps coming up. And so with my last couple of transmission flush videos, some questions have started to arise, and I've seen more people ask, basically, where do you even check your transmission fluid? So that's because that question's come up a couple times through, Facebook DMs or direct email, or even in the comment section on some of my videos. I figured I'd make a quick video for you guys. Hopefully this kind of can create a shortcut, and we'll just kind of go over some of the stuff here in your engine bay. A lot of this stuff you could probably find information on in your service manual, but I know a lot of people like to be walked through in video, so that's really the purpose. I do want to take this moment to tell you YouTube has changed their monetization format, and that does directly affect me, because even though I have a lot of content that people watch, I'm actually way short on subscriber count. So if you could subscribe, that helps the channel out considerably, and a lot of this content to help you guys out. And so that's not going to change. And so today we'll just walk over, kind of the engine bay here a little bit, familiarize you with that. Now, I have a 2007 all-wheel drive Ford Edge, and a lot of these components in the engine bay really won't change whether you have a front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. I have a 3.5 liter Duratec engine in here, and so the way this lines up with the transmission is it goes left to right across the vehicle, right? Your spark plugs are underneath these coilovers here, but the motor runs this way, which, traditional type motors, like on a four-wheel drive vehicle, they usually go front and back. My Dodge pickup over there, it's an inline 6. This is an inline 6. And so how that works is basically it sends, the motor's lined up and the transmission's directly behind it. On front-wheel drive vehicles, it's usually a little different. Usually the transmission is built in, going off one side or the other. And so that's why, our transmission is actually directly located down below here. And that's why the PTU, which is roughly right on the other side of the motor right there, the transmission, since it sits right here underneath, is the PTU, and that sends power to the back of the vehicle, which I've kind of covered in some of my other videos, but that is why the front-wheel drive and a front-wheel drive vehicle and a four-wheel drive vehicle somewhat differ. Now, to check your transmission fluid, here's the location of your dipstick right here. It is your fill tube, but it is also the dipstick. Now, you can see that it's pinkish in color on the end of that dipstick. And this transmission, I don't know, we ran it maybe a couple hours ago. Let's see if that'll focus. So you can see on that transmission line right there how it's right to that max line there. A little bit of overflow. But usually you gotta check these the transmission dipstick while it's hot. But yeah, this filler cap, the place you fill it, is also the location of your dipstick. Check it with the motor running and when the fluid's hot. And your dipstick on the 3.5 Duratec, which is what this vehicle has, for the 2007, this is before there was their EcoBoost motor, I'm pretty sure. I think that's a 2.7. So there's your dipstick. For your engine oil, you check your fluid, your level there. That's where you'd fill it. Your engine oil, washer fluid, coolant, power steering, brake fluid. That's your battery. Your air filter is located under here. Pretty easy to get to that. You just snap these clips. So yeah, really, this is just, a lot of that stuff is just stuff you might be able to get in your owner's manual, but I just figured I'd make a quick video just to kind of walk through that stuff. Hopefully I gave you a, you know, a pretty quick run through of how to check some of that basic stuff in your engine compartment. And yeah, just for the transmission fluid, again, just make sure that's hot and your motor's running when you're checking it. Okay, so here we'll check this fluid while the motor's running. When it was off, you could see it was sitting a little high. But now when this thing was sitting for, like I said, last couple hours. Let's see if I can get this to focus. Nope, not focusing yet. But you see that fluid just right, kind of, there's the hash mark. Sitting right in those hashes. When it's hot, a little different story. It'll warm up a little bit. So, you know, we're sitting good on the transmission fluid level, but basically, that's all you gotta do. Check this out. It's just, you pull it out and check it when the motor's been running for a while. Your transmission's been running for a while. Like if you do it for us, like we live 10 minutes out of town, so we'd have to, you know, we'd have to do a trip into town or something to get that transmission, the fluid hot. But you know, we just ran to a neighboring town a little bit ago, and you can still see that fluid still has a little bit of warmth to it, and it's right in the middle of the hashes there. So I'm not too concerned on the level of that. And I'm going to shut the motor off. Any issues I've seen with my transmission has only been when the fluid level was low. And as long as I've maintained it in that level, and granted I've changed the transmission fluid several times, and the first couple times, I think what happened was I measured what was going in, what was going out pretty closely, and I just didn't want to overfill it. And so when I was kind of like, you know, filling a little bit at a time, and like seriously, like half a quart at a time, and I checked the fluid, and I saw there was fluid on the dipstick. I think what it was just because there was fluid on the fill tube going down that I was checking on the dip. And when I put the dipstick in, I checked that I saw the fluid on the end of the dipstick. Well, I knew it wasn't quite to what the same amount of fluid volume that came out that was going back in, so I was kind of thought I was a little curious. So I went and test drove a little bit, and I did have some shifting issues there. And so, you know, when people are asking me questions about whether or not, you know, they're having issues with their transmission shifting, you know, one of the questions I usually ask is, how's your transmission fluid level? Because, I mean, obviously, like I showed you just a minute ago, you should be able to see it on the dipstick, the fluid level. Even if you just changed it, granted, this is, I think since my last video, we've put 3,000 miles on, since that 5-time drain and flush video, which there's some interesting results there. I'm going to link to it at the end, so make sure to check that out. Really, I really like this Mercon LV fluid a little bit better than that the Mercon V, just because it seems to be staying red, or pink, I guess, not like the Mercon V, which quickly turned colors on me. Granted, I had the video back in July where you see me with like the paper towel, and you'll see me like checking the fluid, which was after, you know, that came after the diagnosis from Ford that I needed to get my transmission flushed, even though I was like, really? Because I just changed all that, so that was a little obscure to me. So just note that there's some particular differences when it comes to, you know, you take stuff to a dealer or something. Just make sure you really can trust them and even verify some of this stuff yourself, because, you know, they told me, oh yeah, your fluid's dirty and you need to change it. Well, shoot, when I looked at it, I was like, gosh, that fluid's still pink, and I knew I just flushed it 3 times. Granted, those were the first 3 times I'd flushed it. I think that was like in May that had flushed it, and I took that to the dealer to figure out the steering angle positioning sensor deal in June or July. And so, you know, there was a little bit of time there, but I was like, there's no way that fluid's dirty already. Granted, maybe there was just some residue from the previous owner not servicing the transmission, which when I got it, the fluid was pretty ugly looking. Not going to sugarcoat it. Nothing like I've shown on any of these videos. And so, you know, really that's something you just kind of got to pay attention to with the transmission fluid. Look at, make sure you have your fluid levels, you know, in that optimal range where those hash marks are. And, you know, I don't know about later generation Ford Edges. I think I've heard somewhere that some of them didn't have the dipstick on them. I don't know if that's verifiable or not. Maybe comment down below if, you know, if you have a later generation Edge that doesn't have that fill tube like this one. It'd be good information to have just for future videos. Yeah, so I guess if you guys have any more comments or questions that you think I can answer, yeah, feel free to leave those down below. Once again, if you've watched this far, you've done my channel a great service, because, yeah, just adding more view time, just in case YouTube changes their monetization stuff once again on me, will be greatly beneficial. So hopefully this video answered some questions for you, added value to you guys. I make this car video stuff just to hopefully, yeah, give you guys power as the consumer of the automobile. You know, these are consumable goods, and hopefully this content, just you get the most out of this consumable good, because that's what I'm all about. You know, we're 193,000 here, I think I saw today on this, so 193,000 miles. So we're coming along, and you know, I'm just going to try to turn wrenches to keep this thing lasting as long as I can. So thanks, guys. Have a good one.